This is a quick overview of the Euclid Data Explorer. When you first load the tool, you're in a Results tab. There are several other tabs that show up by default, and all of the searches you do from the other tabs all put their results in the Results tab. You can add additional kinds of searches if you want, but for now I'm going to stick with only the default tabs. Let's go to the Images tab. It's loading an all-sky image, and it puts two different footprints on it. The yellow footprints are the planned Euclid observations. The red footprints are the released Euclid observations. You can click and drag to pan this image. You can also zoom. Now, to select a region to search on, I can click on this image, but I can also type in a position or a polygon or even upload a list of positions. For this, I'm just going to go with the position where I clicked and search. So let's look at what it's giving us here. In the Results tab, it has a list of things on the left. Because I did an images search, it's come back with a list of images, only one image on the left. And on the right, it has snippets, cutouts of this corresponding image. It has 4 space-based observations here, and then 4 associated ground-based observations here. They're the same patch of sky, but at different wavelengths. I can view one image at a time. I can view all of them together. I can change the size of the cutouts by clicking here. This is centered on my search target center, and I can change what the size of the cutout is that it's giving me. I can also ask it to show the full image, but be advised that Euclid images are very large, and so you probably want the cutouts, at least to start. Let's go to the Inspect Objects tab. It's got the same position I used before. Search. Now note that even though I've done a second search, instead of replacing the results, it's adding to the results. The reason it says Images 1 is because that's my first images search, and Objects 1 is my first object search. Additional object searches will be Objects 2, Objects 3, and so on. Just like before, I've got a list of things that met my search criteria on the left, and then I've got images on the right. This time, since it's given me a catalog here, it's overlaid the catalog on the right. And if I click on things on the left, it changes what is shown on the right. So now it's loaded the cutouts centered on this source. You can change how that works. See how it's telling me here that the cutouts are centered on the table row position, as opposed to the search target center or the entered position. That's what it's doing. If you want to see the relative position of the image tiles that we're getting here, or the objects it returned, if you go to the Coverage tab, here's the size of the image tile it returned, and then here's the catalog that it returned. Now that may seem a little strange, given that we have 13,000, almost 14,000 sources here, but clearly not 14,000 sources rendered here. That's because the tool is trying to render those 14,000 sources in a way that makes sense for both you and your browser to understand what's happening. If you zoom in far enough, all the individual sources are shown. If you zoom out, then it bundles up those sources into tiles to make it easier to show. So for example, in this tile, there's 250 sources. If you click on it, then it will show those sources from that tile. You can control how that's shown. If you go to the Layers icon, there's different choices you can explore. If we go back to the Cutouts tab, there's lots of things here that you can do to interact with the images. You can add different layers to the images. You can add coordinate grids or compass rows. You can measure distances on the images. You can extract a line through the image. You can change the color table or the color stretch. All the tools for interacting with the images are up in the upper right of the images window pane here. Over here, these tools interact with the table. So you can filter the table. So for example, if you only want to have the brightest sources that are here, you can filter this down to say I'd only like the sources that are greater than 10 microjanskis in the visible and only greater than 10 microjanskis in Y, and we're down to 184 sources that are greater than 10 microjanskis in both Viz and Y. To cancel the filters, click there. There are other tabs here on the right that do things too. The chart here plots the catalog that is shown on the left. So right now, because there's a 13,000, 14,000 item catalog on the left, the plot is not showing individual points. It's binning up the points into a grayscale. And by default, it's plotting RA and DEC. But you can change what's plotted. And similarly, if we return to the filter that we had in here before, if we reduce the number of points that we have in the catalog, we reduce the number of points we have in the plot. In order to change what's plotted, you go to the gears and you can plot individual columns from the catalog. You can also do simple mathematical manipulations like subtracting columns or taking the log of columns, that sort of thing. The other kind of searches you can do is you can search by individual tile ID or object ID this way. You can also search the Euclid catalogs this way. This interface is actually a TAP search. TAP is Table Access Protocol, and it's pretty sophisticated. By default, you're searching the MER catalog, which is the same kind of thing that you access when you do an inspect object search. But the catalogs tab here has all of the other catalogs also available. So by default, it's asking you for a MER search, and you can ask it to do that search. And we'll come back because it's a tiny radius with 14 sources centered on the position that we gave it. But you can also do more sophisticated searches this way, and you can search the other catalogs. Now, keep in mind that the other catalogs don't necessarily have RA and DEC, so a spatial search won't work. You're going to have to do an object ID search in order to use these other catalogs. So let's collapse the spatial constraints. In order to do the object ID search, let's go back to the results. Let's find the object ID for something that we care about, maybe that second source there. Go back to the Euclid Catalogs tab and put in that object ID, and then tell it we want to match it to the object ID from this catalog, and then search. And we'll go and find that corresponding row from that catalog. Now, the active chart is kind of boring. There's only one source, but the information from that catalog is here. If we go to details, it's just another vertical view of that horizontal information. So there you can see the description right next to the individual column name, column heading, may be easier to absorb, at least until you get used to what all of these columns are. There's online help for this tool here. There's also context-sensitive help markers in various places. I encourage you to check out the Euclid mission page because there's lots and lots of online help there, lots of user guides, lots of information about what kind of data we have, what all of those catalogs are, what the columns mean, all sorts of good and useful information there. Good luck and have fun playing with the data.